did too. They let him hit me another 3 times before they actually put him in jail. I was saying, brain damage ever since the day I was born. Drugs is what they used to say I was on. They say I never knew which way I was gone, but everywhere I go, they keep playing my song. It's brain damage ever since the day I was born. Drugs is what they used to say I was on. They say I never knew which way I was going, but everywhere I go, they keep playing my song. It's brain damage. Way before my baby daughter Haley, I was harassed daily by this fat kid named D'Angelo Bailey. I made him think they beat me to death and all this shit. I said fuck it, took it, and stuck it back up in my neck. Brain damage. You know what I'm saying? It's brain damage that made me this way. And I now have to like build my life based around that fact. And it wasn't like this till I hit the pavement going 40 miles an hour. It was, I wanted all these people in my life. I needed them. I was chasing the most beautiful woman on the planet and I got her. I mean, I was doing great. Then I smeared my head into the motherfucking pavement. And this is what's left. Don't hurt your head.
He invited us to come on the show, and we were all going to build rafts and float down.
And it's not depressing to me. It's not a sad story. It comes across sad, but it's not. It's actually like just a story of survival. It's actually not a bad story. I don't think it would depress my ex or whatever. I don't, so I don't think this is that bad of a story. It's a survival story, despite all the, despite all the shortcomings and the bullshit, right? Like I'm alive on arrival, like some kind of rapper who had like a methamphetamine and heroin addiction, who's still alive, even though, they've been in rehab like 7 times.
Fantastic adventure. We had a marvelous time.
It's like I'm alive on arrival, bitch. Like Wu-Tang say. I'm alive on arrival. That's about the best I can claim. It's like all I can say. It's the only brag that I've got is I'm alive on arrival. That's it. That's. I guess you could call me a winner because I'm still alive despite it all, despite all the different ways that I could have died. Jesus.
The whole process was fantastic. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
But it was right back to off-grid living.
Yup.
We did have a generator.
Yep. Can't stand humans, so
batteries with.
Don't trust them around my kids, so don't trust them around my wife, so or whatever. It's just saying.
Every other day to get all their batteries charged up. At the end of the raft, we had a small portable toilet with a 5-gallon bucket. Inside the 5-gallon bucket were heavy-duty, emphasis on heavy-duty, biodegradable bags. And that's what we would use for a toilet.
She was getting older.
Was full, we would beach
She's like my age now.
Go up into the woods and bury the contents of the bucket.
This was like 10 years ago. Yeah.
We would also stop at all the freshwater creeks to
They're like 50 now.
Supply.
Yeah, they are. They're like 50 now.
Some of it didn't. It all depended on the creek and where we were at. This is wild country, so it's not likely to be polluted by people, but it could always have giardia.
Mm-hmm. It's likely
Wonderful
too.
Off-grid experience.
It could always happen.
The following summer, we bought 4 acres north of
I didn't buy
Fairbanks,
knives.
Alaska, and
Damn
started
it!
Another homestead. This homestead was going to be completely off-grid. 100%. No running water, no indoor plumbing.
Wow.
The idea was
compost
we still had
toilets.
A lot of business in Alaska. We had a lot.
There was a lot of advances back then. Around 2010, all the survival people that were selling stuff online to survival people were like making all these innovations in survival like crazy, like and like dropping their shit on REI, making millions and millions of dollars. So they made advances in off the grid like really quick, which I thought was awesome because that's right around when we all caught the bug too. So it was cool. Like an industry definitely stepped forward and made it very possible for us to do this stuff. Without all the gadgets and the technology, all this wouldn't have been possible. Water filtration comes to mind in particular. Without the water filtration tech and also the heat retention tech for stuff like tents and sleeping bags and stuff, a lot of the off the grid camping and lifestyle stuff that we would want to do, or even stuff like old tech like electric blankets and magic heaters and stuff. Without that, we wouldn't be able to do this. Hand warmers and such. Yeah, and so that it was cool that like an industry kind of went like out of remission and into like a very popular like thriving industry, and then REI took over and got really big in Denver in particular. So did like Bass Pro Shops and all this shit. And while I don't normally appreciate industries just springing up because it's usually corpo bullshit, this one was actually beneficial because it made a lot of our dreams a lot more possible. So shout out to REI and all the corporate bastards that run the fucking, you know, the fucking survival world, survival fitting gear world, you know. You're corporate, but we love you.
Where we could spend 4 or 5 months in Alaska in the summer, and then the
Big
rest
money
of the
that.
year in northern
Big money
Michigan.
this. Huge
The
money.
first year, we
People
lived
pay
in
out the
a
ass
tent.
for guns, survival, camp gear, camping ground stuff, all that stuff. All that survival gear, REI bags and camelbacks and bike gear and all the physical stuff. People are aware in America that we're kind of fat and that we have fat tendencies, so they do like buying fitness gear and trying to like keep those industries going because it is necessary. If you want to be skinny, you must have something like a mountain bike or go camping or something like that. You must have some hobby that definitely requires some gear, I would say. Damn it, let's
Foundation
go
of the
buy
cabin.
ranged weapons.
Now, 2016 was a big year for us. Brooke started her YouTube channel in March.
Wow,
And we also
they're both content providers on top of it. They're fucking genius. No, these guys are my age. They're right my age. Yeah. That guy, he is like my age. They're gonna be like 40 flat. They're like 40. This was like 5 years ago, and when they were like 35, they're gonna be like 40 now. Wow.
program on the History Channel. By that fall, we'd been chosen to be finalists in season 4.
I really, really wish I could be normal. This to me is normalcy. This is how Colorado is. And I really wish I could be normal. I just don't have it. I've got a broken spaghetti code for a brain. This is so far from who I am in reality that it's like this like fucking dream for me. Fucking dream.
Sure that our
Having normal pursuits and doing normal things and having normal gear and having normal friendships and all that. I am such a fucking freak. I'll be the first one to say it. This is so far from who I am. I want it. I crave it. I want it. Like I like drugs, you know? But it won't ever happen.
off-grid background had a lot to do with
The minute you disconnect me from a computer, nope. Not at all. I'm like that guy. I'm like Tommy in Parks and Rec when he goes camping with them. He immediately sets up a generator, sets up an air conditioner, sets up a television, immediately starts playing Xbox, and plugs in and lays out on his like fancy bed and all this shit. And then he just returns it all when he's done with the camping trip. And the camping gear people are so happy for the thousands of dollars of business that they just do the returns for him. And he's like, yeah, I just return it all when I'm done. And this is how this works too. It's kind of funny. And so yeah, and I'm like that. I'm a lot more like that than I'm like this. You know, I'm thinking about how can I set up the Xbox 360 across from my full queen size bed in my tent that I have like a generator in. You know, like that's my style, and frankly, that's not good for off the grid. That'll get you killed.
picked.
Quick about
Brooke
your
already had a YouTube channel that she was getting off the ground, and this 49 days of camera
Wow.
experience kind of got me over the mental hump to get started on my own channel.
And
I'd had the
you
thought of
are-
doing a channel for a couple of years at this point, but I was intimidated by camera work. I shouldn't have been. It's quite easy.
I don't think you'll sell me what I need.
The next summer back
It's
in Fairbanks,
so
we started putting up
annoying.
vlogs, and now you see it's video. Every log that went into this log cabin came
Come on,
off this
sell me
property.
weapons or something.
Everyone was cut by hand.
please.
Everyone was milled by
Yes,
hand.
there.
Every log was carried from where the tree fell and was milled to where it ended up
What
in
do
the
you
wall.
require?
It took a long time. I wouldn't really recommend this
Victory
unless
for
you have
Sylvanus.
nothing but time.
Yep. That's the
During-
thing. There's the sentence. They all struggle to say it. Like what he should have named the video is, "Do not do off grid unless you have nothing but time." That's the fair warning. If you have nothing but time, off grid's great. If you don't have a job, if you are somehow feeding your kids without a job, if you are somehow, you know, whatever, off the grid is great. But I mean, off the grid is a full-time job. And that's what he should have named the video. Off the grid is a full-time job. And that's the thesis statement that I was trying to reach.
Work in Fairbanks.
Look
which
at that
was about a
shit. That's what it
25
actually
minute
takes.
drive.
Yeah.
And in the evenings and weekends, I would work on this cabin.
Real work.
Because
Are
we
for
had 2 kids in
putzes.
school, I would generally come
What a
up at
putz.
the end of April, about a month earlier than Brooke and the kids.
Real work is
Get
for
to work.
putzes. I'm sorry.
And then when the kids and Brooke left in the fall for school,
I am such a lazy
I would generally
asshole.
stay on about an extra month.
I actually do believe
I
this.
know.
I think only putzes have the time to do real labor like this. People who didn't really have like real lives, just sort of 9 to 5 lives. This guy doesn't have a normal life though. He doesn't qualify. I'm talking about like, you know, the work though. The people who actually have the discipline to do the work, that is weird to me. That is not like the modern generations, I think, at all. That's a dying thing. The people willing to have this kind of commitment. Mm-mm.
get as much done on this place as I
Yep,
could.
get as much
while
done.
finishing up the concrete.
He had a dream, but you got to remember, he pretty much dragged his family along, kind of like Swiss Family Robinson. He had a dream, but he definitely dragged his family along this and got them all engaged in it and had them like do the work to make it possible. That's what it takes to go off the grid. Pretty big family, I think. You can't do it alone, or even with two people. I don't think. Not well, anyways. Maybe van camping you could do with two people. Now that we've seen this, I get what he did. I've done the history before. I want him to talk about other things like the advice, right?
Be ready to give it a shot. Most things are easier than you think they are.
Yeah.
But the idea that you have to hire a professional to do, well, pretty much anything,
Is
that's going to
counterproductive
from trying this kind of a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I would also say that a lot of the content on YouTube
Is false.
off-grid living content
It's false. It's
is
straight
very
up.
confusing.
It's a
You see
fantasy.
stuff like this where somebody's catching rainwater off the roof of a shed, but then you also see a place that has $40,000 worth of solar panels, or they have a brand new $50,000 tractor, or they're going to move building material with a helicopter. I saw that one time on television. Who the heck
too.
has a helicopter?
That was
That's so
Doomsday Preppers.
unrealistic. I don't even know how to relate to that.
People like a
It's one of the
Yellowstone.
reasons I'd say to
Yellowstone.
make
What's
this
his name
video.
from Yellowstone?
Off-grid living, what I understand it to be, what it's
Dutton, like the
through my
Dutton
life
Ranch, the
before
Dutton Ranch
YouTube.
people.
Almost
The people from the Dutton Ranch in Yellowstone, those are the people that can afford a helicopter. It happens, but it's like Montana rancher level, Montana and Texas rancher level when they have a helicopter, because they're dealing with off the grid. They're for a real reason. They're farmers, They're like, they're not just doing it for lifestyle changes. How are you doing this to me? Die, damn it! How are you still doing that to me? I don't really understand. Are you just channeling for 5 whole minutes? Why would you design the mob like that? Like, come on now. I should have kicked him, but it wouldn't have mattered. He was draining life so bad it didn't matter. He just was rechanneling the second I did it. God damn it.
Internet has very little to do with a lot of the content that I see on YouTube. I think there is a Hollywood version of off-grid living,
and then a
there is
real,
an actual version of off-grid
Yeah,
living.
and I propose that you should understand that it's real. Hollywood misleading you on YouTube is a dangerous thing. Like Christopher McCandless, You got to have help, support, money,
And I don't
a
know.
really strong work ethic, stronger than me, or hire help, one or the other.
That the
Or breed up a family to turn into slaves. And I'm sure there's been times in his kids' lives where they're like, Jesus, I don't want to do what dad wants us to do, and they're feeling like used slaves. I guarantee it. There's times when his kids feel like that. It probably does happen. That's interesting. I don't know how you could ever cut the metal like this, but then leave the wood exposed for the water to rot the wood. I mean, are you cutting corners on the costs or something? Because there's no way I'm not cutting that metal there. I'm not letting the water spray onto the wood. It's going to rot and cause mold and get you killed with black mold. That is not a properly insulated bathroom at all.
of them have a whole lot in common.
I think maybe
Brooke and I started down this path 20 years ago, and it was the best option for us at the time because it was a way that two young people
also the
could have a roof
commitment
over their head for next to nothing, so long as they were willing to sweat and work and learn. And that made sense to us. But nowadays, there is a hipster version of off-grid living too that is completely a fantasy land, in my opinion. Let's be honest here too, so many people have jumped on the off-grid bandwagon because it's popular on YouTube. YouTube is an income stream.
I have bacon. I can make bacon sandwiches for lunch. Like 2 strips of bacon. It'd be pretty good.
A lot of people
Maybe.
have decided to do off-grid content because they find it inspiring. They like the idea, but there's also a financial element there too. There is an opportunity to make money on YouTube with off-grid content.
Yep.
And of course, I think it's pretty easy for people to tell the difference between an authentic experience and some hipster version of off-grid living.
The asteroid is depleted.
I could never show people the inside of my room with my demographic. I can't ever show people the inside of. I can show people the inside of my house. I can spin the camera and do a base tour, but I can't do a tour of my home on a professional tip like that without putting myself at risk to the gamers, who are like the worst, most scariest contingencies, short of like terrorists and drug dealers on the planet in terms of their terrorism and their trolling and cyberbullying and taking advantage and cryptonomics and all that. There's no way I could do a base tour, not in the gaming sphere that I'm in. That's a luxury I do not have.
It allows me to do what I've always done and share it with the world.
And what happened here?
I personally feel much more at home with an outhouse and a wood stove in a little cabin than I would a furnace and a nice bathroom in a beautiful, expensive home, especially when you have a mortgage on it. For Brooke and I, the income from YouTube has allowed us to buy some property that is much more remote, which is what we both would prefer. Not being tied to a certain area to make a living. But that's certainly not the way we started. We started way before YouTube. We had hard jobs, physical jobs in town. We would come home and haul water from the well, take showers at the truck stop. That was the reality of things way back in the day, how we got started and why we got started living off-grid. It made a lot of sense back then. It was a way to get ahead. So if you feel overwhelmed by some of the stuff you see on off-grid content, people with a lot of money, people who have massive solar panel systems, people who have a lot of acreage in beautiful places, they're running livestock, they have brand new vehicles, and you think, what in the world is real? How do these people pay their bills? How do they afford groceries? How can they have all this stuff if what they are is really remote?
They can't.
Well, the chances are they're not really remote.
They're not.
The chances are it's not what it looks like.
Nope.
There are people out there that are probably making all their money
Liars.
off really popular YouTube content. And that's why I wanted to make this video. I wanted to make this video for people who don't understand what they're seeing portrayed on YouTube in the off-grid space. The truth is, for me, I got out of school and I started right into building trades. I started doing concrete for $6 an hour. And I learned a lot about carpentry in that trade. And after Brooke and I got married and we decided we wanted to have a house, you know, it was just a decision to build one rather than to buy one. And it was a decision to do it really affordably, so we didn't end up in debt. And in Fairbanks, Alaska, where we were at the time, the cabin thing was it was quite the norm. Dry cabins were the example that you looked at, and it's like, well, we could do that. So if you've ever wondered how we got here, what our journey looked like, what we were actually doing 20 years ago, and how we ended up on YouTube, well, I hope that you've enjoyed this video and got some insight as to what the truth is when it comes to the off-grid content.
I do not remember this quest at all.
We've always been building cabins, and it's nice to have a cabin in a remote place.
I think I always
Just
leveled
so
Thunder
it's
Bluff.
also something a lot of people want to watch, so it's
Or no,
fantastic.
when I went Horde, I was Blood Elf. I was always Blood Elf. I've never been an undead anything. I don't think actually. I remember the starter zones for some reason because I've done them before, but I don't like I've done undead before, but I don't remember doing a main that was undead. I didn't like that I spent some time on at all. I don't know these lands that well, which is kind of cool. It has been entertaining, you know.
For Brooke and I. On the other hand, there's quite a lot of YouTube content out there that needs to be taken with a grain of salt. So keep your eyes open. Don't believe everything that you see. If you find a channel you really like, ask them to tell you how they got there. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Dave Whipple, and you've been watching Bush Radical. And be radical, eh?
Be radical.
By Mubi, a curated streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema from all around the globe. Get a whole month free at Mubi.com/mmfish. And of course, by my lovely patrons.
You know, ever since I was young, I always wanted to live with a sense of adventure. So that's why I'm getting into off-grid content. You know, I just love the idea of being self-reliant, self-sufficient.
Yeah, if you have the money, I suggest off-grid is one of the greatest things you could ever do. If you got the money to just throw at it, say, I don't know, like 50 grand, like as far as like streamer income, I think spending 50 grand of streamer income on going off grid and doing a blog about it is actually one of the better, more like enriching, positive things a human could really do, frankly. And so I actually do encourage it when you can afford it. But it's the people that can't, who are trying to bite off more than they can chew, are the ones who end up having bad problems. You can definitely die doing this if you fuck up, you know?
Aw. Oh, so thirsty.
Starbucks.
Small batch frappuccino.
It was truly only a matter of time before the YouTube algorithm sent me down the funnel
Small
of off-grid
batch.
homesteading content.
Aggro.
Being from pure Michigan, I love the outdoors. I love camping. I love looking at bugs. I love identifying birds with my dad. I've also been obsessed with tiny houses for a while now, in a kind of morbid fascination type of way. There's something about watching a family of four cram into a mobile bunker while the host giggles about the unpredictable housing market. There are only so many episodes I can watch in a row before I feel like there becomes a moral obligation for the host to mention that the real housing problem is that we don't treat it as a basic human right.
They need to sell their house now so they won't be paying a big house mortgage, a tiny house mortgage, and student loans all at the same time.
I like her.
But by God, I will watch all 4 hours of
I will. It's so dumb. Thank you. I'd like to sub to your channel.
trying to fit your piano and baby crib into one. I'll do it. I've done it. Anyways, all to say, not even my love for the outdoors or yelling at Tiny House Nation could prepare me for the endless abyss.
Tiny House Nation. Off-grid grifters. Oh no. Yeah. Hey, I mean, if there's money to be made.
Off-grid grifter is just
Griftonomics,
a
right?
of off-grid person under the overarching off-grid umbrella. Here's some other categories close to my heart. You got your standard doomsday couple. You got your illegal camping videos, which are very helpful.
Meant to make a phone call
There's
real
an
quick,
entire
guys.
genre of hot girl almost naked in thumbnail video. And the hot girl category actually dovetails into 2 separate off-grid genres.
No, I won't.
Actual hot girl
that's
content and video with hot girl thumbnail, but the actual content has negative sexual vibes. I cannot emphasize enough how many naked women are on these thumbnails.
Really?
I mean, maybe YouTube just...
Really? Okay, for off-grid, you put a naked woman on the front, huh? Oh, yeah, I think actually that is the whole vibe they're up to. Yeah, I see what you're saying here.
There are men in the woods reinventing the wheel over and over.
Wish I had
and
Garrett.
over
Do I have
and over
Garrett?
again.
No.
I wanted to make a steam.
No, that, what is that? That's 16, I
I
think.
probably will do it, but it won't be so much a public thing.
And of course, the classic Sapphics renovating a camper to run away videos. And I'm sure there are many, many, many more. Comment below with your favorite off-grid subgenre. You can file this video under deconstructing off-grid content, But
Aggro.
what makes an off-gridder an off-grid grifter? Wait. Yes, that makes sense. Yes. What makes an off-gridder an off-grid grifter?
Money.
And I don't even mean that off-grid grifters make money, or that they have money. What makes an off-grid grifter is a lack of transparency about that money. Just compare these folks, who are very upfront about the realities of living off-grid.
People with a lot of money, people who have a lot of acreage in beautiful places, they have brand new vehicles, and you think, what in the world is real? How did these people pay their bills? How can they have all this stuff if what they are is really remote? Well, the chances are they're not really remote.
If you don't have a decent amount of savings to begin with, it can be very challenging.
50 grand, that's
So
what,
even though
okay.
I'm spending-
That's what I did. All in all, I worked until I had $39,800, and then I paid out another 10 over the last 10 years just keeping the place running and getting stuff fixed like pipes and getting $200 to $500 propane fillings and such. You know, it's not cheap, it's not free. And so I would say, yeah, I was able to save up the most money I've ever saved up in my life to do this. And if you aren't willing to do that, you won't have a good time. You can't just move into a van. It's not like that.
Less on my lease than I was
Aggro.
on my rent. There are all these additional things.
Oh, I dinged. That's
So,
why. That's why.
To be honest, I'm
Nice.
working a lot more now than I used to.
Yup.
It was
A
very,
lot more.
very financially stressful.
With
Yeah.
this person, who's very vague.
A couple years ago, I bought 2 rustic cabins in the woods. And
She looks like my ex.
and I love them, and I still own them.
She is so much like my ex. It's insane. I didn't date that girl, but
About 2 months
I mean, I
ago,
didn't date this girl. I dated that girl, but I didn't date this girl. But yeah.
place. But that being said, I
Oh my God, she looks like Journey. Journey's more beautiful. But oh my God, she's got Journey. She is biting on Journey's fucking style so fucking bad. I love my friend Journey. I hope I see her one day again. Journey was great.
And
Met her
just to
through
say
World
it
of
out
Warcraft
loud,
and dated her
I
for 2 years, and I moved in with her for a year. And she was like the most beautiful woman in World of Warcraft. I've only ever met or seen one other woman as beautiful as her. It's fucked up. And like and she lived in a trailer exactly like me, but the difference was she had moved into a trailer exactly like this, a fifth wheel exactly like this. And
Aggro.
but she had done so at the age of 27, which was so young, and she was so happy. She was so happy she didn't have to pay rent or any of that stuff. And her mother was her landlord because her mother owned the trailer park, and she was trying not to be trailer trash. She lived in the trailer, but she owned her own home at the age of 27, which was more successful than any of my other friends. I love my friend Journey. She was a wonderful person. She really took care of me for a couple of years. She really looked out for me. I had no place to go. We were in love, which helped, but I mean, she looked out for me. I lied to her, and we broke up because I lied to her about smoking a cigarette at my cashier job at the gas station. And then she found the cigarette butt in the trash can in the fifth wheel. And she was like, "Did you smoke a cigarette?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "It's over." she was like, I was like, "Okay, you're gonna break up with me over a lie over a cigarette?" And she was like, "Yes, I am." "Oh no, what did you do here? What'd you do here?" "What? Oh my God. What the fuck?" Wow. Like, yeah, your fucking mobs, they fucked me. What is this? It's a temporal beacon.
Speaking, I am not accusing anyone of fraud or any other criminal activity. Off-grid grifters can pop up in any of the off-grid subcategories, and they can be hard to spot, like those cell towers disguised as trees, which to me look exactly like the trees from Lego Island. But anyways, how can you spot an off-grid grifter in the wild? Well, lucky for you, I've been able to identify some common characteristics, so you know what to look out for. Of course, the most obvious flag of red.
One of the reasons I keep talking about the what's it called? Like the future is it enables me to do the perfect history that I wanted to do without pressure from the outside. That's one of the reasons why I'm so obsessed with it. I'm like, I want to do my personal history, but my finances in the future will matter and will suss out to how well that goes. And, you know, we'll see.
Off-gridder responds to questions about how they could afford to move off-grid. It takes a chunk of capital to construct a homestead. It can cost much less than buying a house, which is definitely the reason that many people choose this lifestyle, but it ain't free, and it's usually not cheap.
We found 6 acres just 3.5 miles from downtown Boone, and we're able to create this beautiful place not only for us to live, but for students to live with
Glossing over what I
Oh,
hope is an
yeah,
obvious ethical
nice.
question about living with students. There is a large gap between finding 6 acres of land and buying 6 acres of land. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, buying 6 acres of land, how many tens of thousands is that? Like, can you even get 6 acres of land? Because most people sell hundreds of acres of land. I don't know if most people sell 6 acres of land. If they do, they're going to charge a premium. You know what I'm saying?
Aggro.
I don't have anything. I'm going to die here. Oh, damn it. That is a lot of link. At least it's not hardcore. That's what I get for standing in front of the cave mouth.
How did he?
From the beginning, hired students to help us with...
I'm trying way less on this, and I don't care. I don't even think about it very much. I just keep grinding. I don't care about dying. I don't care about it. I'm totally focused on something else, and I don't care. And I actually really like that. I think SoD is good in the respect that in the end, it'll be really, really good. If you have the discipline to get all the way to 60 in SoD... like, I think it'll be really fucking good, actually. And especially because I don't have to die. I can play it a lot more. Like, I think it actually fits hand in glove with hardcore lifestyle. And when I reach 25, I can go back to hardcore and not even worry about this character unless somebody invites me to come PvP or something like that. I don't even have to care about this character until the level cap raises. And I actually don't mind the experience. I think they're smart to do it. It took me a while. It feels like a season pass that's a lot more compelling than season passes have ever been. Is a good way to look at it. SOD was good. I think it was good. I didn't like the first experience with it, and I don't like that it doesn't have like a core gameplay loop that rewards you that much. But I do like it. I think it is good. 4 of them, huh?
Aggro.
These things are level high, or no, they're not. They're like a level lower. But my gear is out of sync, and also I haven't trained. I think I'm supposed to garrote open now, and I haven't been doing that. I need to go train. I just don't know if I have the silver yet. Maybe. The gun is silver. That helps. Please don't kill me here at 90, dick. Yeah, my gear is too outdated now. I need to like go dump some leather into. Are you skinning these? Are you a skinner? No, you are not. Yeah, I'll come back here, but I need to train, which kind of sucks. But I guess I can hearth. It's pretty easy enough to hearth.
We hired a sawyer to come in and create lumber for us that we could use for decking and framing on the various...
Do you know how much the money that is? Do you know how much money that is? That's like $15,000. That's like the entire cost of the tiny home. It's bullshit. Everybody's bullshit artists now. Everybody's griftonomics and tricking you and lying. It's so stupid. I've been hearing stupid right-wing saying the last couple of days in all these videos and shit that actually did kind of like it's like a right-wing dog whistle, but I liked it though. From the Granby Tank guy, the Granby Tank Dozer guy, he was like, elevate your brother, don't bring them down. And I heard this from several different people over the last couple of days. There was an interviewer yet last night asking people about oh god, I forget what he went to the Slabs, which is like this tent shanty town. And he asked them, like, you know, give me some advice. And the guy says, don't work to trip your brother up, work to elevate him. And that one I liked, but it is kind of like a right-wing dog whistle, but it is kind of like that. It's like you guys put out all these videos designed to trick us. It's like you're actively working against us. You should elevate us, or not make anything at all.
We built this tiny house in my father's driveway, I hired a Appalachian
Look
State
how
student.
rich he looks just from the background. He looks like money. Yeah, tiny homes. Why would a rich person need a tiny home? I'm just saying.
To come with us for the summer, and he and I.
Isn't that kind of a step
worked
down?
to-
If you're blowing like $100,000 on your tiny home, isn't that kind of like a step down? Wouldn't you just want to take that and pay like, you know, pay a mortgage on a real house, and like take your 100 grand and do something with it? It seems sort of weird. And you're like you're like resanding the fucking like you're resanding the fucking exterior and shit, restaining it. I mean, I guess that could be cheap, but it doesn't look cheap. Reminds me of a Miru, a little bit like how what she would say. Like it looks cheap, but it might not be. You know.
Funny is when one rich off-grid YouTuber will go around and document other rich people's architecturally interesting off-grid homes.
I own 400 acres. You know, as a young person coming on the land, I could not believe that nobody wanted this.
Yeah, I also
I can
don't
believe it.
that nobody wanted it.
Yeah, I don't really believe
We came
that.
on the land, and there was
Maybe I
no
can sell
water,
this
no
gun.
roads, no bridges. There was nothing, but there were trees. You got to remember, we came on the land, we had absolutely no money. This cost $8,500 to build.
No fucking shots. No shot. That's only $8,500. Just the glass looks like $2,000 to me. I mean, come on now. The solar panels look like $2,000 to $3,000 to me. That is like not $8,500. That is not $8,500. It is a lot of labor with $8,500 worth of materials. Yes.
Money. It sounds like you had at least $8,500. Even if the houses are not architecturally interesting, they'll still go and check it out if they're in the same tax bracket.
I learned a lot of things co-founding Airbnb. Can't be a UFO. Nobody wants a UFO in their backyard. They want something that feels like home.
It's almost like there are all these people who belong to a...
Like a cult. It's like a cult of survival or whatever, off the grid. It's the off the grid cult. And I'm one of them.
It's called a class, who all happen to have some sort of particular resource in abundance. I'm at a loss. If only there was a name for that. Class or resource.
Upper class, yeah.
Besides being obscure about how they've paid for
All that design, does it look cheap?
their homestead, off-grid grifters are also obscure about the labor that goes into their homestead.
We did almost all the work ourselves.
I think you did all the work of moving the furniture in yourselves.
I think if we had it hired out, we'd probably be spending around $400,000 probably. One of my favorite pieces here at the A-frame is this painting. It was actually painted by my father. He's a professional impressionist oil painter. He actually helped a lot with this build. He was here with me probably...
That I believe. Yep, like two months.
Half the time I was building.
It was like 2 months, and yeah, and his father bailed him out on the labor. He was like, "Oh yeah, I like projects," and then his father, like my mother, bailed him out on the labor. My mother bailed me out on this labor. I make it look easy, like because I did. I moved I moved away from the madhouse directly to my own home. And I made it look easy because my mother did all the work. I earned the money. She did all the work of actually buying the place, painting it, fixing it. She took it on as like a boomer project, and she loved it. She was like one of her favorite experiences in her life. But
here he was helping
it was still her labor. I wasn't even here.
Did almost all the work ourselves.
Yeah, and yeah.
So just to recap, being an
yeah.
Gritter is all about being self-reliant, which means doing everything by yourself, except when you need some students to work for free or cheap, or when you need specialized laborers like a sawyer, a pipe fitter, or a welder. So you do almost all the work yourself, implying that it's just you and maybe your partner too. But then on YouTube, you show a photo of what is clearly 3 men working, and then in another part of the video, you admit that you're literally a contractor. So you probably have some of your guys help out without even thinking of it as outside help because you own them. And also, you couldn't have done any of this without your dad. You know, self-reliant. Another flavor available in the palette of off-grid grifters is when an off-gridder is a little too philosophical about how or why they chose this life for themselves and or their family.
This project has taught us so much about what we value and what we enjoy doing. What I love about this journey is just feeling a new connection to the animals and to nature.
While there is absolutely nothing wrong with being passionate about the way you live, some off-gridders are clearly romanticizing and idolizing a life of solitude and self-reliance, not because it was actually good for their mental health, well-being, or growth, but because it feeds their ego and presents an opportunity to prove their masculinity via seclusion. An attitude as outdated.
I don't wish to cancel them, but I do wish to shed the light on it.
Old 1919 hit.
Make it harder for them.
There are also off-grid grifters who I simply label as grifter because it's clear that they don't actually know what they're doing, but present themselves as if they do. Like our buddy Shadow here.
Just got tired of the city, got tired of where mankind's going, and always had the idea I could do it better.
Who I admire for trying to live free from capitalism.
I try to live without money as much as possible.
But who maybe doesn't know how water filtration works.
This is for your natural filtration, as well as for chickens. So when you're done your dishes or done your brushing your teeth, you pour it onto here, and then when it goes back into the ecosystem, it doesn't wreck your ecosystem that you're in.
Now, when I first watched this, I was pretty sure organic filtration wasn't that simple. And any questions I had were confirmed by this dad who lives on a houseboat, explaining his
I don't know anything about it, or I would say I don't know anything about what he's doing. Yeah, that's like some green stuff that I've never heard of before. It's good. It's a good idea. Sagefish, raw bristle whisker, and rainbow fin albacore.
Farewell.
Well, it's good to know that he sells it. I'm behind on all the cooking and fishing and everything. But...
What is it? Embrace the shadow.
I kind of want to drop leatherworking at this point. It has not benefited me in any way or form, and I don't know if it's going to like do anything more. I guess those are better than what I'm wearing. Let's do that. I just don't have coerced thread. I'll have to buy it. I have to go training first. Go find the trainer.
On the float home. My gray water system is self-contained. It goes through a series of filtrations, which is then pumped up to the flower boxes, and evaporation takes care of it from that point.
Yeah, I think those chickens are just eating gray water.
So this is the library, and this is the biolab. This is where I do a lot of the research of what's going on in the environment that I'm in. And this is how I know what kind of poisons are toxifying our species.
Well, that's a relief.
Drinking water is still an issue. I still haven't built any type of filtration systems yet. I have a few ideas.
Now, there are various degrees of audacity, and I am certainly not trying to say that everyone who uses their inheritance to build a cabin in the woods is a grifter or unethical. It's just a pattern of behavior that paints off-grid living in a way that at best is not obtainable, and at worst encourages someone to cut themselves off from support systems and community in order to feel like they're 13 again reading My Side of the Mountain for a book report.
I've completely failed. I'm really embarrassed about this. I guess I'm just gonna have to stop doing it.
He gave up.
This is ridiculous. I just can't keep doing
it. It's disheartening to like work at this so hard for 7.5 years, 8 years,
and not really get there.
And just to get the legs cut out from underneath you, and they won't even tell you why.
They won't even tell you why. Yeah, that's how my drug dealer thing was. I woke up one day and my business was dead overnight, not because of anything I did, but because the government killed Craigslist, and overnight I went from 200 a day to 0. Yeah, that sucked.
But mostly, I just find these videos fascinating to watch. The characters, the explanations, the compostable toilets, and I'm already caught up on Tiny House Nation. What if I told you there was one fully grown adult who encapsulates all of these qualities? An off-grid grifter, the likes of which I have not seen in my many years of being around men who wear camo unironically. Did I mention I'm from Michigan? Rural Michigan. Why, yes, that font is too small. Thank you for asking. This is Brent.
Hello there. My name is Brent.
If Brent Brent were to tell you his story, he'd say that he used all of his life savings to buy this old mining town called Cerro Gordo, 3 hours outside of LA. He's passionate about history and can't wait to fix up Cerro Gordo for generations to come and learn about the people who lived here over 150 years ago. While he's completely alone in this old ghost town, we watch him uncover old articles that subscribers have sent to him or things that he found online. He loves walking around and talking about all the little details of the structures and the mine itself.
I go down there mainly to discover history. That said, there still is some very cool minerals down there.
Along with images of maps and charts. But if I were to tell Brent's story, I would put it like this. This is Brent, a former investment banker who became a partner in a marketing firm. He bought an old mining town for $1.4 million in 2018 with an investment group whose members include a Hulu executive and a former American Apparel executive. And he can't wait to fix it up for all the people.
It's always bullshit if you
We'll
dig
have this
deeper.
online in a month or two, and depending on how the coronavirus thing goes, this could be the first place you come and stay if you visit us here.
The idea of preserving the town of Cerro Gordo and celebrating its history seems really important to Brent.
I just think it's so cool to see people rallying around a piece of history.
I also like preserving cool towns. I think most people do. His audience certainly seems like they're also into it. He's amassed a huge following on YouTube with a passionate fan base who watch his monthly videos thinking that he might have died between uploads while exploring the Cerro Gordo mine.
There's a dynamite box, and in the dynamite box...
Docking request accepted.
Well, let me get around the corner so when it does explode...
In the first Ghost Town Living video I ever watched, Brent shows off the various houses that he plans to Airbnb.
The second house we hope to get on Airbnb is the Bellshot house. You know, it's where I typically stay, so I try to keep it a little nice.
He gives a tour of the
Little
old
nice.
American Hotel, along with all the historical relics that remained at the site.
You see the saloon in the American Hotel?
But just 2 videos later, the hotel burned to the ground.
About 5 hours ago, around 2:30 in the morning, a fire burned down our hotel here at Cerro Gordo.
Oh.
Last night I woke up to an explosion of the propane tank in the hotel. By the
Oh.
time I got outside, the building was already halfway down.
The American Hotel was presumably fine for 100 years until he showed up, and within weeks, the propane tank blew up. A propane tank near the old, flammable desert hotel! That's made out of wood! Now, yes, it is a tragedy that the historic hotel burned down. And I'm sure the people watching this channel
She's
were
loving
very
this.
emotionally affected by
She's
this.
loving this.
Brent spent his entire life
I mean,
saving
they are
and
kind of
investing
scam
money to
artists a
turn the
little
hotel
bit.
into an Airbnb, and now it is a pile of dust. But
Oh.
knowing that he is backed up by
That's
extremely
unfortunate.
rich investors made the last part of this video that much more, well...
Could use some help. A lot of you have been very supportive of the town and our progress.
Uh-huh.
If you could donate, any
Oh.
dollar that's given is going directly into this. If you're close, and you have
It's a little tongue-in-cheek, buddy. It's a little bit. Chicken's a little curry.
we need the help to demand
Chicken's a little curry, buddy.
rebuild.
I think you
Right
should
after we
stop.
have-
Stop while you're ahead. You're not ahead.
It finally happened. I finally saw something that I would actually say
Is close to the truth.
Brent.
Yep.
Brent. It's just you and me here talking, okay? No one is listening. Everyone else watching this video, cover your ears for a second, okay? This is just between me and my friend Brent. Did you not get fire insurance? I mean, buddy, I'm coming to Cerro Gordo. Staying at your 150-year-old building
Yeah.
that you don't have insured? I know, at least in California, it's practically impossible.
I mean, I don't want to
get
make an
mortgage
accusation
without
like
fire
that, so I didn't say it, but that's
Upstairs
that's
where
what I
the rooms
thought.
Used to be. No visitors have been allowed upstairs in quite a number of years. It's not structurally sound
I was like-
up there.
Wait, so if the building wasn't structurally sound,
Up
to
there.
the point where you're not even supposed to go to the second floor, makes it seem like Brent was going to have to tear down the whole building anyways. especially if he wanted people to stay in the American hotel. It's almost as if he had a pretty big motivation.
I have 300 bee seals that I'm not using.
I'm not going to say it.
Maybe I should go do that.
We don't know
It is
whether
Monday.
or
I
not
could probably
he had
actually
fire
get it
insurance
done.
is a testament to how vague these videos can be.
Wow.
It's either, no, there wasn't fire insurance, which means that was incredibly irresponsible. Or there was fire insurance, which opens a whole other can of worms, since he's asking money.
I think I will try to go
to save
to
his
Wings of
dream
Fury.
Westworld minus robots. Or some other secret third thing that I'm not allowed to know because I don't have a 401k. Do you not show proof of insurance when you put your place up on Airbnb? Do businesses like theme parks and tourist traps not need to be insured?
Cerro Gordo's gonna be here after I'm gone, and there's gonna be a hotel here. And that hotel
Oops,
is
did I
got the
train?
story of,
I don't know.
the fire of 2020.
What is it?
Whoa, no.
Okay,
You
Garou.
don't get to watch
This
the
is just-
hotel
Victory
burn
for
down
Sylvanas.
and then say, actually, that's part of the history that you are so intent on preserving. What Brent witnessed was the textbook definition of the opposite of preservation. Arguably the most historic building in the entire town is gone, burnt to a crisp. And even though his entire channel is about him being alone in his ghost town, this is somehow not his fault or his responsibility. And actually, it's yours. Everyone likes to think they're off-grid and self-reliant until their propane tank explodes, and suddenly it's like, why did it take the fire truckies 3 hours to get to me? If I'm being harsh, I'm sorry. The only reason I even came upon Brent's videos is because my friend Harrison, who lives off-grid in Alaska, thought that this was hilarious. I don't know Brent. I have nothing against him personally.
Clown.
It just gives me the squicks to see someone co-opting the language of
I am
non-profit
forsaken.
for his for-profit Westworld. We're slowly but surely approaching ever more territory, and I have just as much confidence in Brent as Jenny did in the guy who owns Evermore. From an audience perspective, it gained him tons of sympathy and raised over $100,000 on GoFundMe. And this was back when we were like, clapping for nurses. Dire. As I mentioned earlier in this video, one reason I was interested in talking about off-gridders is because of the strange way they talked around finances. And Brent is a prime example of how a marketing executive uses inspiring, emotionally charged language to wave away the financial realities of his situation. Brent uses his marketing skills to romanticize the town,
Something historic is going on here.
its legacy,
And back in the 1800s, they pulled $500 million worth of minerals out of this hole right behind me.
and whatever mineral deposits still remain underground for his taking.
Cerro Gordo Smithsonite goes for thousands of dollars on eBay. I'm not the one selling it, so if it's you, where did you get it? How
I
did you
haven't
get it?
got
Here's
all
Brent
day.
on the Half Hour Intern podcast in 2016, talking about the media manipulation skills he learned from another partner at his former marketing firm.
Giving any bloggers what they would want for the perfect story and kind of like running with that story, whether there's half-baked truths in there or anything along those lines. Yeah, there's certainly a world that I had never been exposed to and made me question pretty much every single article that I read online to this day. I know that there's somebody behind it doing something to influence the content within it.
I mean, half of the articles are basically written by the companies themselves. Like, you know, you can see that in the article. It's very obvious. But even these news stories that are obviously written by the news organization might have had a big influence by, you know, any of the businesses mentioned in there. It's just so interesting. And
Right,
terrible.
yeah,
It's interesting and
kinda,
terrible.
You know, somewhere along the lines, somebody assumes that it's been fact-checked. So, you know, your local blog might not have the fact-checking standards that, let's say, NBC News does. And then the next size blog isn't going to fact-check because they assume somebody else did. And that's how unreal news becomes reality. Is kind of, you know, as you're trading it along, there's a certain expectation that somebody's fact-checking when in reality probably nobody is.
Yeah. Just so crazy.
Unreal news. Adorable. Quaint even. 2016, what a virgin of a time. After Brent's baby exploded, the project to rebuild the hotel has been difficult since the town is so remote. Getting a bunch of cement out there is a logistical nightmare. Brent mentions that he looked into hiring a helicopter.
I was looking into renting these massive trucks. I even called a helicopter company that quoted me $167,000 for a day.
Golly gee willikers, you'll never guess. A Fremen Tom Bombadil has arrived, recommended by his subscribers to save the day with friendship and a mutual love of facial hair and tobacco. The strongest foundation to build a new friendship. And when Brent talks about this newly formed friendship, suddenly any mention of the price tag disappears.
I need 81 yards of concrete delivered here. And he had just seen the road. Remember, he kind of looked around and he said, all right, I got you.
And
What
so,
now?
the magic man and his magic concrete magically pour into the new foundation of the new hotel after the old one magically burnt down. And look at that! The new building will magically now be up to code and able to magically support a second story. Magic! Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I think the finances of running a place like Cerro Gordo actually
Watch
seems
your back.
interesting. But we don't get that. So, we'll never know until it opens and I come as a guest wearing a mustache.
What is
when
it?
Brent isn't building a luxury
Beware
hotel
our
from the ground up with zero regard for historical building methods, he's doing the second most exciting thing a teenager would do in Cerro Gordo. Exploring the abandoned mines.
Being there too. Oh, that's cool, yeah.
To Brent's credit, he has absolutely zero regard for his own safety. And you know what? Top tier content.
But now we're gonna go into the great unknown, See what happens from here.
In this video, Brent has hired some men to lower him down via the elevator shaft. And just
Why did you
listen to
do
his
all
guys
this?
neg him on the way down.
You fucking clown. You're like a Michael Scott clown. Fucking clown.
What do these guys know that we don't know?
I used to be a millionaire before going to mine.
Brent so clearly wants them to shut the fuck up.
What's a combination to the safe?
Bye, guys.
Yeah, what's a combination to the safe? Where'd you hide all that money? Where's that money in that suitcase?
Oh, man.
You know, you can edit that out, Brent. Unless he kept it in to make him seem more grounded or something. I don't know. I think he's trying to play like he's in on this joke. He's not.
You know, if you want to come back up, you're going to have to tell us.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Goodbye, cruel world.
Now, surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, I don't know, there is one thing in the mines that will get Brent really excited to talk about money. Levi's blue jeans.
And the reason that these jeans are so interesting is they're a collector's item.
My favorite moment is when he finds a stash, tries to pick it up for the camera, and it just immediately disintegrates in his hands. Jaggings. Our dear Brent even edits screenshots of auction listings into the video.
Oh my
to let us know
God.
just how much we should be willing to pay for the minerals he collects and the crusty old blue
Nice.
jeans that he peels off the floor of the mines.
People that are really into that piece of clothing will pay upwards of $100,000 sometimes for these jeans. And for me, it's never about the $100,000. They're a collector's item.
And this might be a bit of a side note, but there's also a video of Brent suffering through a snowstorm, and the entire comment section is people offering extremely helpful and common sense advice. Stuff that even I know from living in Michigan. And he posted a weirdly defensive comment because it sure seems like he still doesn't know anything about living alone in his ghost town after 3 years. Cerro Gordo was established as a mining town to extract as much value as possible from the mountain and channel that revenue into the pockets of whatever mining baron owned it. And now, in the age of social media, a marketing executive is able to buy that abandoned mine, use the idea of a romanticized American West to extract value, not even from the mine, but from his fans. Then, when the hotel burns down, he gets fans to donate more money through a 501c3 charity so that he doesn't have to pay taxes on his GoFundMe. But Brent also mentions that he has volunteers helping him rebuild.
Whether you're here moving blocks or just watching from home, this channel is what is making this hotel possible.
As in, his fans are doing free labor. I think it's safe to say Brent still has a lot to learn about living off-grid.
4 hours into the hike, and I'm completely lost. The sun goes down, I'll have no idea where to go, but
I honestly don't know what to do.
But I do think there's one area where Brent has made huge strides in over the past 3 years. His content. If you compare his recent videos to his earliest, there are some noticeable changes in tone and production quality. Early on, he was much more soft-spoken, going for a kind of intimate conversation vibe.
That stained glass is from a Stevie McQueen movie called Nevada Smith.
Fast forward to today, and it's...
Hello there! My name is Brent.
It's pretty obvious Brent is trying to model himself after a Johnny Harris or a Casey Neistat. But those two will chase stories and take you on interesting journeys to learn something. Brent is taking us on a journey to his hotel.
Right now, on the first floor of the Future American Hotel,
where you can pay him to stay when it's complete. Brent and other off-grid grifters insist that it's not about the money. But a big part of it is the money.
This isn't a project. This isn't a startup. I don't think about it in month-over-month growth.
My dude, it is literally a project and a startup. You have an investment group and your goal is to turn it into a tourist attraction. In the past, Brent has assured us that everything he finds at Cerro Gordo will stay in Cerro Gordo to preserve its history. But in his latest video, he says,
you know, my mentality from day one has been that everything at Cerro Gordo needs to stay at Cerro Gordo. That said, we also have an extremely expensive hotel just down the way to build. So all that to say, I'm going to try a small online rock shop.
I wouldn't think that Brent cared so much about the money if he wasn't constantly bringing up the money. The reason Dave Sparks helped out Brent wasn't out of the kindness of his heart, no matter what the narration tries to imply.
He said, all right, I got you.
He did it because he was able to monetize it on his own channel, getting multiple videos out of it, with what were most definitely massive sponsor deals. Ironically, a sponsorship for a high-risk insurance company. Dave wasn't even able to get all the concrete he needed for the building. After 2 trips, the cement company refused to come again.
He decided, you know what? No, that road is too dangerous. It's too much of a risk for our drivers. You know, we have much easier jobs everywhere else. We're just not going to do it.
So Brent turned to...
We're taking a little bit different approach. This time, the community that cares so much about this town has all rallied behind it. We're going to make it happen.
His fans and volunteers again, getting them to come and help mix cement by hand. I do have a lot of respect for people finding alternative ways to live outside of the capitalist hellscape that most of us are trapped in. Like our dear friend Shadow, and the off-gridders who are breaking down what their lives are like and can shed light on things that we could change about society to make it a better place for everyone to live. For most of us, that's why we watch this content. We also fantasize about our cottagecore homestead in the woods, as I clickety-clack on this keyboard next to my fake plants. But for an off-grid grifter, the goal isn't to explore alternatives to capitalism. It's to escape capitalism by using the capital that they already stored.
And there's the savage hypocrisy of some of this. And so to escape poverty, these guys try to grift us.
Have always been able to.
I guess it's all about escaping poverty, isn't it? Some of them are grifting us, and some of them are trying to escape poverty, but they're all trying to escape poverty, aren't they? I'm just saying. She's got a very good point there. I like that she actually like thought about this like silly irony, because it's like, yeah, they're all trying to reach the same goal, just one side of it does it like legitimately and the other one tries to get you to pay for it. You to do the work and you pay for the work. And yeah, tiny house living looks pretty good when you got a lot of money to throw at it, you know.
Capitalism. That's what happens when you
raining
become
hard,
rich.
huh? Yeah, damn it is. Oh good, I can take this cord off now. Cord. Oops. It is raining hard, yeah. I have to pee, but we're gonna keep the video running because I will not be on long. I will be right back.
Other people's hours for other people's happiness, and they aren't being honest about doing it on their own. They regurgitate rugged individualism while spending thousands on hired hands. There are also much more sinister pockets of off-grid content that, if you're not paying attention, seem like just any other off-grid video. Yeah, remember all those naked women in the thumbnails? Some of those channels do not give off the air that these women are creating content of their own accord, if you're catching my drift. There are whole off-grid channels that have been confirmed hoaxes, people just pretending to live off-grid in the woods, or even being coerced to beg for money on camera. It's extremely uncomfortable not knowing who's holding that camera. Time for the obligatory Thoreau quote. If a man walk in the woods for love of them half of each day, he is in danger of being regarded as a loafer. But if he spends his whole day as a speculator, shearing off those woods and making the earth bald before her time, he is esteemed an industrious and enterprising citizen, as if a town had no interest in its forests but to cut them down. And even Thoreau needed his mom to do his laundry. So, the reality is, as much as off-gridders love to sell themselves as truly independent or being out there on their own, if you're saying, I'm independent on YouTube, you're not independent. When you use a tool like a hammer, over time your brain actually starts thinking of that tool as part of your body. And as far as your mind is concerned, you are one with the tool. And I feel like these self-reliant YouTubers prove that this same thinking can also extend to other humans. If you hire someone to do something, tell them what to do, and then they do it, it can feel like you did that thing that you had someone else do. You can feel a certain ownership over it. After all, that was your capital that paid for their labor. That's how executives are able to tell themselves that they're doing all the real hard work of running the company, while the actual laborers do everything on the factory floor or behind the espresso bar. This is why the tool itself is such a powerful symbol in workers' movements. Focusing on the tool restores in our minds the importance of the person holding that tool and the actual labor that goes into production. Society is based on the means of production, but bosses and off-grid grifters often try to obscure the material conditions of that production. This whole subject is extra relevant because I live in LA, where a lack of housing is a crisis. In 2020, as the pandemic raged and Brent was just starting his YouTube channel, a little community started to form in Echo Park. And if you listen to local politicians or the police, they'd tell you horror stories about how terrible the encampment was. But if you went there, you would see that that wasn't the case at all. And I know this because I went to Echo Park with my family in November of 2020. And what struck me most about walking through the encampment was how chill it was. There were community gardens. People were bartering for supplies or even just giving away stuff for free. It was like this little alternative economy functioning all on its own. But in March of 2021, Echo Park City Council member and the LAPD kicked everyone out of the park. The city claimed that they'd move these people into permanent housing within a year, but a year later, out of about 200 people that were living in the park, less than 10% were in permanent housing, and at least 7 had passed away since being evicted. Unhoused people are the ones living like they're in the Wild West, not Brent. For people without permanent housing, every day is a struggle to find food and shelter. They're harassed by police, rich locals, and vigilantes. They don't have stock accounts or rich family members they can fall back on, and they're not backed by millionaire investors. But living in a tent in a metropolitan area with a population of 13 million people doesn't conjure images of the Wild West, so the media will never portray them the way that they'll portray someone like Brent. Self-reliance is a myth. All of us are interconnected. I think a lot of us learned that lesson the hard way during lockdown. I know that I'm not alone when I speak into a mic or talk into the camera. That's why I love doing what I do. At the end of Brent's last video, he actually came to a similar conclusion after spending 3 years alone in Cerro Gordo.
So it has been 3 years.
For the past 3 years.
Over the last 3 years. Over the past 3 years. I see my own memories over the past 3 years. It's been a long 3 years. It's been a challenging 3 years.
3 years that I've been living up here. It has been 3 years for the last 3 years. Past 3 years.
That is 3 years. 36 months.
3 years ago.
3 years. 3 years. 36 months.
Brent tells us.
And after a lot of thinking, I don't think it's the best to call this a ghost town anymore.
And you know what? Brent's right. Which is why every single person who gave up their time should demand free stays at the new Cerro Gordo American Hotel Airbnb combination spa and mind tour experience. My mustache and I will see you there. in about 15 years when it opens. While on my off-grid journey, I like to fill my free time by watching Mubi, the sponsor of this video. Just as soon as I figure out how to power my laptop using these potatoes. Mubi is a curated streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema from around the globe. I said it in the intro, and you can't stop me from saying it again. Mubi always has new movies to discover, and I can't wait to check out Sally Potter's gender-bending 1992 film Orlando, an adaptation of Virginia Woolf's unfilmable book. We'll see about that. Mubi is expertly curated with really helpful descriptions. So every time I browse, I find something exciting to watch that I've never even heard of before. And I thought I was a film nerd. Whether you're a newbie or you live in a houseboat constructed from your favorite discarded DVD cases and wallpapered with old issues of Cahiers du Cinéma, Mubi will ensure that you won't run out of cool films to watch before the apocalypse, or Rapture, or whatever future event gets you the most views on YouTube. So try Mubi free for 30 days at Mubi.com/mm. The creature from the Black Lagoon lives just down the river, and I'm sure he'll want to join me for a double feature of Orlando and Beyond the Black Rainbow. Say it with me. Mubi.com/mmfish. 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 Thank you so much for watching. An extra special thank you to my patrons and everyone watching on Nebula, who I am deeply dependent on. If you enjoyed this one, might I recommend my video on Motel Makeover, a reality show about two ladies renovating a motel for profit. If you liked the video, be sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. As always, Renovate Martha.
Can't show you this conversation.
Oh, this is not going to be for YouTube.
Thank you, Homesteady, for the excellent content for my stream. I'd like to sub to your channel.
Oh. No, this is about us quitting on this thing.
Okay. I can't show you the conversation because Kay told me to turn the camera off. But we're going to talk about what she said when the camera was off. It had just been a few weeks since we packed up our entire life, drove cross-country to Alaska, and moved into the off-grid cabin. And already she was talking about leaving. Why? She was lied to. There's someone spreading a lie about off-grid life, and we're going to talk about it in this episode. You're going to want to listen because they might be telling you the same lie. Oh, and one other thing. We're going to tell you why we left the cabin. This episode of the Alaska Off-Grid Challenge is called Don't Believe Everything. Kay told me to turn the camera off, and I always respect that. Being a content creator, there are times you just gotta shut it down. But I remember exactly what she said. She started by saying, "Austin, you are the most amazing man. Your biceps remind me of the mountain ranges which surround us."
Oh my God.
Oh, your mustache. Its majesty can compete with Mount Denali.
Well, that's not exactly what I said. I better help you narrate this one. Walking down that road with Austin, I asked him to turn the camera off because I wanted to seriously talk about leaving the cabin after we had barely just arrived. And it had nothing to do with the struggles we had already been through. It's not like a nice place.
No, it's rough.
The bad weather.
It is 40 degrees.
Oh, Wes, it's 40 degrees almost every day where I live for 6 months of the year. It's like kind of funny. It's like right now, it's like 45 degrees right now. Like
this whole off-grid life we were now living. A much bigger storm was on the horizon. And I'm not even talking about the actual
it's the winter,
storm
of course,
that
but
was on the horizon.
they don't like work.
I think there's a storm rolling in. The tarp's flapping like crazy.
She's frying bologna.
And yeah, the mosquitoes are thriving.
You gotta hand it to them. They're not
This is
fair
5K,
weather
nice.
mosquitoes. You can count on the Alaska
Wow, for
mosquitoes
dark
to be there
crystals?
for you. Look at this wind. Look at us. That's why my hair looks the way it does. It's the wind. Got it? This is a funny decision we have to make. This tarp is protecting our whole outdoor kitchen and storage area from rain.
Hold on, there's wind. Alright.
We're trying to leave it up to protect our outdoor kitchen so we can cook. But the wind's getting so bad, it'll do more harm than good up.
Time to
So I guess that means we're abandoning cooking for now. That means all our outdoor cooking space is going to be exposed to rain.
So we gotta put stuff away.
Storage, we got to put stuff in the tiny house. It's annoying, but...
We had set up this outdoor kitchen space because all the kitchen appliances in the cabin, they were broken. There was a little off-grid refrigerator.
It was broke.
There was a sink.
Yeah, that leaked.
And there was even a little propane stove.
Yeah, that was broken too.
And those weren't the only things that were broken. We showed up and supposedly there was an outhouse, functioning outhouse, and a working wood stove, which were both things we were excited about.
And both of those things turned out to not be working.
Yeah.
The outhouse is shot.
Full.
And
falling down.
The wood stove was shot. So right away we had to solve both those problems.
So yeah, a lot of the things that we thought were going to be working at the cabin were broken. But let me be clear. This is not the lie that we started off talking about in this episode. The owner of the cabin doesn't live at the cabin. It was actually closed up. It hadn't been used for a long time. And he thoroughly warned us about how rustic the cabin was. He even mentioned he wasn't sure which things would be working and which wouldn't. So when we arrived to find certain things not working well, it was just a chance for us to learn more about setting up all of our off-grid systems from scratch.
And you can't get much more from scratch than pooping in a bucket.
You may remember from our biggest fears about going off-grid video, I talked about being afraid of the element of pooping in the woods, pooping in a bucket. And I gotta say, this has been one of the biggest, like, oh, this isn't bad at all.
So yeah, this is our toilet setup. The tarp is a privacy screen. The front is open to the wood. It's actually under enough trees that even if it's raining, you don't get too wet.
Sit here on this nice platform that my dad, the carpenter, made with an actual toilet seat.
Which, because it is pretty much sweater weather all day and night here, the toilet
I think we spent $200 on a fancy camper toilet. It was like $200, I think, or it was like $300, I think. And it detaches, and it's so much better than what they're doing. It's so much easier to deal with, and it's definitely way more sanitary. And it also seals up.
So I've been asking Austin all week to make me an insulated toilet seat.
You make it sound really good,
I
make
know.
you an insulated toilet seat. You just
It took him a week to do it, though.
cut a hole in a piece of insulation. Because there's a lot of other priorities.
How long
like,
did that take you, then?
Okay, it took me like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But look, I put a nice little smiley heart in it.
I
Didn't even
did
see my
not
little
see
smiley
that.
heart. There's a lot of love that went into the making of that toilet seat. How's that for a thumbnail?
Oh. Guys,
Love.
believe me, it makes a world of difference sitting down on that versus the cold toilet seat. So I honestly would skip the toilet seat insulated.
How dare you? So dumping the bucket is not a big deal. We have a pit. We dump the bucket.
The crazy thing is, it fills up the bucket. One
That-
5-gallon
Okay, hold
bucket.
on. Comment below. Take a guess. How quickly do we fill a bucket?
So
This
there's
is
8
so
people.
gross.
The baby doesn't use it though. So 7 people using it. A
7
5-gallon
people.
bucket. How long does it take to fill?
8 hours.
3 days.
3. I was gonna say 2.
It's 3 because in 6 days we've emptied the bucket. Well, we filled 2 buckets.
We've got one that needs emptied.
So the best part about pooping in a bucket out here is the view. Look at this. Ready? Imagine you gotta go, and well, here you come and you sit down right here.
They're probably expecting to see like mountains, bald eagles flying by.
Just quiet.
There's the
Shh,
moose.
quiet.
There's the moose track.
You're not gonna be there when they're pooping. Just give them a second to enjoy a quiet contemplation. ASMR pooping in the woods. Here we go. Ready? Go.
Homesteady presents ASMR pooping in the woods. I want you to take a nice deep breath
Why did you focus on poop so much?
Electricity, you're hauling buckets of water.
Definition I think that we have leaned into is like you're not on any public
You're not
utilities.
tied into the public utilities.
There's no tie to public. And here we are miles.
Because there
from
would be
public
no
utilities.
way you could hook up to public utilities here.
We have been using solar, and we have our UPEZ system. And what we've been doing is we have our UPEZ solar generator, which is 2,400 watts.
That's been a really wonderful thing to have.
Yeah, we have had zero problem powering our life with that 2,400 watts. I've been able to run our computer, we've been able to charge our cameras and get video. There's not been a moment where we haven't, actually because we're getting sun till like 2 a.m. with solar power, that thing has always been at 99%. So zero problem.
I was really surprised by how much I was enjoying learning about all these different off-grid systems. Life back on the grid is so different. So every day I was learning something new, hands-on, and it was a challenge, but it was so much fun.
I'm gonna be honest, I think the happiest individual here so far.
Who's been the happiest individual of our whole family?
It's kind of a trick question.
No, I know exactly who it is.
Who?
The dog.
The dog.
He loves Alaska.
It's cool. There's bunnies and chipmunks goes with us everywhere.
He's so happy. Yeah, he loves Alaska.
He loves Alaska.
Second to that,
you're pretty high up the happy list.
I'm really enjoying this.
So out of the 11 of us, so far 2 were really enjoying this. How about the rest of us?
Hold on. All right, you've been living off-grid in Alaska. What are your first impressions?
At this point where they bring their kids in, I'd like to bail out. Because at that point, I feel like I'm being manipulated, and I'm sorry. How we built 100% off-grid homestead in 500 days. All right, let's bite that one from 2 years ago. I've subbed and liked to your channel. Thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Nomadic, or whatever the case may be, nomadic movement. I've liked to sub to your channel. Thank you for the excellent content for my stream.
So it's just let go of my job. I'm done. I can't believe it. That's my office, right there. And I'm never going back there ever again.
Fuck yeah! Jacking off, no future, no work, no job. Fuck, she's hot. He's a little too effeminate.
This is our new home.
Wow. I like it. I want to see it again. Back. Yeah, I like it. I could see doing it. And I always wanted a good template for it. I don't like the windows. I would absolutely not cut holes in this thing. I would absolutely want the metal exactly how it would be. And I would want maybe the wood how the wood is, but I would want insulation between the wood. And there's no way I am leaving open fucking windows with curtains. There's no fucking way. People will be so curious. They will be breaking windows. There is no way. That is always my issue with this. These guys, I think they spend a lot of time and money installing windows in these fucking vans so it can feel like a home. But honestly, that's what the roof is for. That is what the roof is for. You do not want people looking into this and seeing that there's a television in there, maybe video games or laptops or computers. And I like this almost more than the tiny house idea because it's mobile, of course. But it also suffers from privacy issues. And so, like, yeah, and also, where's the toilet? Like, I don't know. I look at this and I'm like, do you poop in that couch or what? I mean... You want to talk about poop? I want to talk about poop when it matters. Where the fuck do you go in the bathroom in here? So I guess where I'm going with this is I can see doing it exactly like this. I even like the chair. The chair is genius. If you could put the TV over here, I suppose I should make it bigger. If you could put the TV over here and the chair here, you've got essentially what I have, but a much smaller TV. You get a router, you get a fucking, what's it called? A satellite internet hookup. Or you just run 5G if you live in a city or whatever. I don't know. You could live in a city, I would think. You know what I would do with this is I would go to a hotel and I would sit in there a lot and until they told me to leave. And then I would just go to another hotel. And when I was done with the hotels in the city, I probably could go back to the first hotel again before they warn me again, I bet. And even then, yep. And just don't show up that much, right? If you did a different day at each hotel, I don't know, moving the whole house is kind of a bitch every single day. But I mean, like, yeah. And then on top of it, I think it works, but only because you would have a lot more privacy than this. I don't need an entrance over here, and I don't want one. I want a wall and no see-through at all. I want privacy in this motherfucker. I don't want anybody knowing what's in there. No assumption that it's a home. No, it's nothing at all. It's kind of like Rust. You can tell these people would get eaten alive in Rust. Eaten alive, I'm saying. Because it's just, you know, it is far too loud, far too rich, far too privileged, far too easy to just break a window and take whatever you have of value. The minute you're out of that motherfucker, it's like dumb. On top of it, the minute you ever leave this thing, anybody with some actual skills on the fucking street can steal your entire fucking house. So you want to partition between the house and the driver's seat. You want the driver's seat to look like a poor workman's van, not like somebody who lives in it, right? And you want the back to be totally fucking discreet. You don't want the cops knowing you're living in it. You could have all kinds of vents on the top. The cops not going to think about that very much. You know, but the windows will absolutely attract cops all the time. It'll attract cops. You can't park this at the beach. You can't park this at a hotel. It'll attract security and cops all the fucking time. The actual usage of it is for like driving across the land with like stuff that's attached to walls so it doesn't fly all over the place when you're driving. But see, the thing is, the shit is going to fly all over the place when you're driving. And it's going to bounce and it's going to rattle all day when you move it around. And I think, you know, the inner is actually really good. You got the couch that I wanted and the bed that I wanted. And if you were to put a TV here where they couldn't see the TV or anything because there's no partition where the driver's seat is. And I think pooping in a bucket would work. And that's what you would have to do. And how I would do that is I would buy a big bag of bags, you know, big old industrial bag of bags, unfortunately. And I would poop in a bucket with no partition, no windows or anything like that. And I would move the bucket back under the kitchenette and the TV and the desk or whatever you want to call this. It's like a kitchenette desk TV thing. And I would absolutely poop in a bucket, and I would dump just like if you had a dog or something like that, I would dump the buckets of poop once a day in the morning. And you can poop all day in the bucket, and it reseals. I've seen them, and you can get those. You can get like buckets with toilet seats that, you know, or just this camper toilet I have now. And it would be annoying though, and you would need to be able to stow it under the fucking under the kitchen. Underneath these shelves would not be shelves. It would just be an open thing for the poop bucket. And then you've got a fucking tiny living situation that actually works. And the beautiful part about it is the world is your oyster. Well, I'm sorry, the country is, well, yeah, mainly the country. Well, I mean, the continent is your oyster. Because anywhere that you can drive to, if you have all the passports and everything, doesn't matter. Now, receiving mail would suck, and you would definitely want to pay for a P.O. box somewhere, and you would definitely want that person to be a friend, and you would want them to be able to, I would say, digitally scan particular pieces of mail or something, or you would just have them send it to you wherever you are. So you would connect a mailbox place to another mailbox place and say, could I pay you $10 to receive mail for just 3 days, right? And then, I would like to receive a letter here. They probably let you do that. I think I use a local mail place so the stalkers can't kill me, you know, and they'll never find me, by the way. And you know, and then when they do, they'll meet the dogs and the guns. The reality is, the mail is a problem, and you do kind of need mail in this thing, but you can go fairly digital. I doubt Andrew Callahan. I mean, I bet Andrew Callahan has an apartment now, but only to receive mail, and that's the thing. You would need to use a PO box place to replace your mail needs. The whole shebang with the opening at the top is really super good, and you would need that all the time. It would get so stuffy in there, especially with more than one person, and especially with just one person kind of living in there like a man cave. It would stink so bad. Trust me, my house would stink, but it doesn't, even though it's got like a compost toilet essentially. It's like, the venting in this place is great, the insulation's great, the ventilation's great. So it never feels stuffy or hot unless I don't have the propane to run an air conditioning or something like that. It never feels shitty in here almost ever, and I love that. And that's the difference. In the van, it's gonna feel stuffy. And while I like the idea that there's two things here, and one's like a smoke ventilator for the kitchen and the flippable countertops for the cooking and all this stuff they've got for propane and all this, he's probably got a kitchen. It's an entire kitchen. I can see the tools. They've got it. They've even probably got like a fridge maybe underneath. I mean, they've got everything they need here. But I don't think the privacy is on par. The opening is a joke because anybody can fucking just smash it with a hammer and steal your entire home. And if you're not living in a fucking existential nightmare of somebody stealing your entire home, you're not doing it right. So you don't ever want anybody to know what it is, not even your friends. This would be your secret. I mean, you would live fairly off the grid with this. Off the grid being you're right out in plain sight. It's a form of like hermit crabbing for humans. And the difference is this hermit crab has holes in his shell where the other non-rich hermit crabs can look in through the fucking hermit crab holes and see that you've got computers and laptops and televisions and your whole life in there. Maybe there's a safe with some money if you're really dumb. Like, dude, I mean, I'm serious. Don't keep a lot of possessions in this thing, because trust me, people will come walking along the street, and even an urban place, like very nice middle class neighborhood like DU neighborhood in Denver, they'll still see that you got windows. They're going to look in the windows, and if there's something there to take, they'll take it. So you must understand this kind of living with the open lifestyle with the curtains and stuff, that will only attract attention. You must never do this. You get all of your ventilation through the fucking roof. You get your light by the front window when you're driving and stuff, or like, I don't know, like the light, like I would honestly use a clear plastic movable dome like you might see as a ventilation thing in a big Econoline van. I would want something bigger like that. I've got it in my house. They're like the size of, I've got what I'm talking about. They're like the same size as this, but it's a plastic bubble to let the natural light in, and you need that. And now the van will get hot constantly all the time, so I don't know how you deal with that. You're actually, like, honestly, where you have this here where there's a ventilator, I would think of an air conditioner, and I can show you what they look like. They look like that. On the camera above the television, you're gonna see like a box like the size of like an air conditioning unit, but it's not that big. It's for a mobile home, so it's like only like the size of like a pizza box. It's like the size of a pizza box. It's not that big. It's like a large pizza box. It's about the size of it. That's actually about right. It's perfect. A little bit bigger than a pizza box, like another inch. And and that air conditioner is propane, and it's fucking dope. And you can run the propane on the top of the van if you want, or the bus. You can run the propane hanging off the back. You can run a smaller propane tank for only for the summer, right? You want like a smaller propane like you see in a barbecue, and you suspend it on the top of the van or underneath the belly or underneath your bed or something like that, and you run a ventilated air conditioner deal out to the top that's efficient because it runs on propane like what's going on in my tiny house. And then you've got air conditioning. You're thinking of these windows as air conditioning. No, this thing will get to be 108 degrees in any summer and almost anywhere in this country. And it will be fucking miserable in there. You can't really live in there. You're going to have to sit in there. You're going to have to sit outside in chairs, and people are going to look at you. You're going to lose your privacy and shit. If you really want this place to be good, you want the insulation for the winter, even in the warm places of the country. And you want the air conditioner for the really hot summers when you're stuck in this thing. You can't go anywhere, without paying a lot of money. So, you know, and you're in a city you don't know, and you're in a place you don't know, and you can't go anywhere, but you've got it all self-contained. But security is a real problem here. You can't have a television in this thing. It would drive me fucking crazy. You wouldn't be able to have a television in this thing. You wouldn't be able to have, like there's no fucking way I would ever do it like this.
This is our new home.
And now they've got the solar panels, they've got the ventilation, which is good, but they don't have the air conditioner, which is dumb. The van is too obvious, it's too short bus. There should not be windows. They've got 9 windows. Well, no, they got more than that. They've got 11 fucking windows on this thing, and it looks like a fucking party bus. And if you go anywhere that isn't a fancy neighborhood like this, you will be ripped off. You cannot go to downtown Denver with that thing without getting ripped off. I can guarantee it. Like, trust me, even Denver, you wouldn't be able to go downtown with it, not without some problems. So just understand, you guys are doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong logically, like even from the get-go. You make it seem like it's this wonderful mobile home. But yeah, the only place you'd ever be able to use this is at the beach, pretty much. The only place you'd ever be able to use this is at the beach. And even then, you would still have security risk. In a major way. I'd be so nervous about swimming out there because somebody could go break into take a hammer and steal your fucking home. Your entire home. All $100,000 of it. And laugh their way to the fucking bank too. Flip it in, like, fix the window. Like, switch the fucking the fucking license. Like trust me, some junkie with some actual ingenuity will take your entire home. Trust me, it's like what would actually happen. So you really must not advertise like this. And they're like taking pictures with their fucking fancy cameras and shit out their windows. And sure, that's great. But like, dude, and it's livable, but only at the beach. That's about it. You wouldn't be able to take it anywhere else. The whole point of this is you need to be able to park in Walmart parking lots for the night. Park in hotel parking lots. They call it stealth camping, right? The whole point of these fucking van campers is it's stealth camping. The cops don't know what you're doing when you're in there because they can't see through the fucking windows. If you have curtains, they're gonna knock on your door and they're gonna be like, "What you doing in there? You got a meth lab?" And then you're like, and that's okay, but it sucks when they've done it to you 400 times. And they're like, you can't stay in this parking lot, you know, and all this shit. Trust me, you don't like that kind of hassle. You get like, and if it's a small town or something like that, the cop might be bored, which is bad for you. They might write a ticket. So like, you know, so then suddenly you're shelling out $200 for trying to park in a fucking Walmart or something like that. Trust me, you don't want to be obvious about what you're doing. You guys are too loud. Like a Rust player would know better. I see rich and I steal. You know what I'm saying? It's stupid, but I'm not me personally. I'm just saying, like, that's what they do. They like the poor people, they see rich and they see rich like that and they steal. Like, I know it's a bad inherent like fucking thing, but I mean, you put that much money in one place, you're gonna have somebody stealing your home. It's ridiculous, but it's true. They're willing to break into your apartment as it is. If you put it all in one place like that where they can just walk up to your fucking window, smash it, and take your entire home inside of 3 minutes, I don't know, man. That's just stupid. You cannot show them what you're doing. Like, RVs are bad enough. RVs probably have a particular theft rate. If we were to go look at statistics. RV break-in statistics, right? You're going to see that RVs suffer from higher crime statistics probably than... oh, wow, yeah. Now RV campgrounds are safe. But activity is increasing... and there's been violent crime in like RVs and stuff, but it's actually a fairly safe way to live. I think the assumption is most time people don't have a lot of stuff in there that's worth anything. So, you know, maybe it's safer than I think. Maybe it is. But I'm just saying, if someone can break a window and steal your entire home in 3 minutes, they will. And that is why those windows are retarded. Those windows, you know?
We unfortunately decided that we had to steal her from the shelter and become our new puppy.
She's very happy.
Well, we've talked about this before, that we're thinking about building a little tiny home community.
Maybe if we win $1 million.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, the money, what? Yeah, the money is just off the hook on it, man. You didn't, like, trust me. I just blew 50 grand in it in 5 years, and oh my God, it's not cheap. Yeah, you have to have luck. You've got to have luck. We found a good deal on this one. My mother did. She found such a good deal. This shit is not cheap. The bus, yeah, the bus is cool. It's too obvious. is way too obvious.
So we're gonna drive from Fairbanks and travel all the way through Canada to Seattle, and we're gonna keep.
These fucking yuppies are a little bit too fucking white bread for me. I'm terribly sorry, guys. I like their shit and I use some of their content, so we liked and subbed. But this is far too fucking yuppie white bread milk toast fucking straight up fish belly for me, man. Terribly sorry. It left a bad taste in my mouth. Nope. This one might be good, but I don't really want Asmongold's view on it. Why games like Baldur's Gate 3 are so rare. I'd rather watch the source video than Asmongold's take on it these days. I think I'd rather just go direct to the source. I did not feel savvy enough to not have this content like hand-fed to me in ways that I understood it better until now. But now I'm beginning to think I can probably dig just as well as them and follow my taste a little bit more religiously and a little bit less his taste. Because I like Asmongold, but he doesn't have the same taste as me at all. I'm just saying. So, 10,000 subs. He watched a 10,000 sub video, which is cool. Like and sub. Thank you, A16C Games, for the excellent content from my stream. I've liked and sub to your channel.
A couple of months ago, Baldur's Gate 3 was released to a commercial and critical fanfare that seemed to surprise a lot of people.
It seemed like the industry had underestimated the popularity of...
Like, I don't mind taking the cue from Asmongold and acting like I'm in his stable or whatever the fuck, but I am not the same person as him. Not even close.
RPGs, or at the very least, a desire for deep...
Well, we're close in the respect that we're both single and middle-aged and living in our house and we're inheriting. But I wouldn't say that we're I guess you could say we're trust fund kids in a way. But I wouldn't say that, you know, we're the same in the respect that, like, our body types or our lives or our choices or the games that we like, any of that other stuff. So I trust him from a media perspective, but his taste is not akin to mine. We like Souls-likes, I guess. I don't think he plays Rust, which is a serious issue for me. How do you not play fucking Rust?
Opinions about
Rust is like the greatest game ever made. How the fuck do you not play Rust? Like, what? I mean, right now we can look at Steam. Like, I should go look at Steam game player statistics. Like, fucking, like you should be playing Rust. Like, I mean, yeah, Lethal Company got big, but I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know about Lethal Company. No, thank you. It's $10, which is cool. So it's up there right now. Oh, well, yeah, the top seller is Lethal Company because it's $10. Yeah, the Steam Deck's only $350 right now. I didn't know that. Is it the OLED? Baldur's Gate 3, Destiny 2, Cyberpunk. Yeah, Icarus is selling well right now for some reason. It's got something new, does it? I don't know, man. Reviews are coming out mixed on Icarus because I've seen that game. The combat did not look that good to me. Icarus has a 2-year anniversary free weekend coming up on... Oh, no, I missed it, which is unfortunate. But that's probably why they're buying it. Yeah. I don't know. This game looks good to me, but it also doesn't. It's unfortunate. So, but we came to Steam Game and Player Statistics here, and we're looking at the 100 most played, and we'll see that Lethal Company is doing very, very well, stellar for $10 right now. A co-op horror about scavenging at abandoned moons to sell scrap to the company. No, thank you. It sounded too much like Dead by Daylight. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, PUBG, Apex Legends, Grand Theft Auto 5, Destiny 2, Rust is number 11, 83,625. It's good to see it. They're down 30,000, but I mean, hey, it's the end of the wipe. When Thursday hits, it's gonna be nuts. It'll be like 240K, something like that. It'll outdo almost all these except for Dota 2 and Counter-Strike 2. Rust is rightfully the number 3 game on the list, but it drops down when people play other games. Like right now, World of Warcraft season is Discovery just hit 4 days ago, and a lot of Rust players play WoW. So, you know, we're probably, a lot of us are playing Rust. Or sorry, WoW, I mean. So, I want to go to port now. Or I'm in port. I got to dump like 200. I thought I had more than this, but I guess I got 150 Beastman Seals to dump on Shami here. 142 more fucking Beastman Seals is insane. 510 Beastman Seals. I'm gonna use some of them. That is disgusting. I don't know. I don't really like Wings of Fury. It stresses me out a bit, but I like the Astral Rings if I ever get them. I could run it fucking 50 times till I get them. Let's buy a 20 orb. And I'll go on out there to Wings of Fury. It's not really my favorite idea, but I want Astral Rings. If I could get Astral Rings, I'd be so fucking happy.
IGN claimed that Baldur's Gate 3 was causing panic in game dev circles and showed that many developers just had low standards, while Jason Schreier said that the secret to Larian's success was that they were privately owned.
And while those arguments definitely struck a chord with some people, I find that they're two-dimensional answers to a three-dimensional question.
If there's one thing I've learned from over a decade of talking to people who make successful
Look at all those
games
wonderful
about
PC
why they're
games.
successful, is that the answers are usually not so simple. So today on By Design, I'm going to pick apart the development and reception of Baldur's Gate 3 and try to find some answers as to what made this game successful. To do this, I'm going to take a look at the history of Larian Studios, interview their director of publishing about their internal strategy, talk to Co-Carnage about the changing face of CRPG fandom, and try not to get too focused on the bear sex. But the bear sex was definitely part of it. The bear sex is causing panic in game dev circles.
We have a lot to cover here, but we're going to start with three topics first. Number one, the history of Larian Studios. Number two, a health check on the CRPG genre. And number three, how Baldur's Gate 3 was marketed. Cool. Let's jump in.
Damn it. I like the green,
let's get
though.
the most obvious point out of the way. Baldur's Gate 3 is a fantastically well-made video game. It's wonderfully
Kind of. It had serious issues. I beat that game. I beat a co-op, and I know that that game had some issues. It is not a perfect game. It is not even close to it. It has serious graphicals, like it was very intense. It had graphical issues. It had issues with connectivity. It had issues with saving. It took 10 minutes to save sometimes, so you couldn't play other games till you got off Baldur's Gate 3 for like 10 minutes. It had technical issues in the Steam store. It was not a perfect launch in any way or fucking form. It did not go across as smooth as even as Elden Ring or anything like that.
gorgeous. It has great voice acting, interesting locations. It has the best dice rolling animation on the planet.
I love that
and
dice
enough
roll.
emergent gameplay
yeah.
to cause Warren Spector to piss his pants with joy. Almost nothing else about Baldur's Gate 3's success is worth talking about without first acknowledging this. It may seem obvious, but the biggest key to any game's success is its design.
Time to
Baldur's
go.
Gate 3 is a fantastically well-designed game.
I thought I was going to buy
But
something,
there
and
is
then I
still a
remembered that
question
I'm
here.
broke.
How was it well designed? No video game is made in a vacuum, so first let's establish the conditions that Baldur's Gate 3 was made under,
and analyze how it appeals to both existing fans of CRPGs and seemingly this unexpectedly wider audience. I've spent the best part of a decade visiting game studios around the world, and in my opinion, if there's one element that contributes to the long-term success of any development team, an environment where people improve their skills and each new game is greater than the last, it's institutional knowledge. When game studios invest in their team's long-term health, when they keep their smartest people, it has a multiplying effect on the rest of the studio. Like a paladin or a priest doing a spell or, you know, some D&D shit. I don't know, cantrips.
It allows decisions to be made faster, problems to be avoided earlier, and hopefully creates the conditions where ability is the most valuable asset.
Smart teams keep getting smarter, and you can see that in a lot of your favorite games. Think id Software from Wolfenstein to Quake, Guerrilla from Killzone to Horizon, CD Projekt from Witcher 1 to Witcher 3, Supergiant from Bastion to Hades. Larian is a studio with RPG pumping through their veins. They've been committed to this genre since the late 90s, slowly developing these skills while occasionally staving off bankruptcy. They've also learned some important and costly lessons. Both Divine Divinity and Divinity 2 were forced to market by their publishers long before the games were finished, so they kickstarted and self-published Divinity Original Sin. This game was their moonshot, and it worked out. It sold 2.5 million units and was well received by the CRPG world. We gave it the PC Game of the Year at GameSpot. Here's me in 2014 talking to reviews editor Kevin Van Ord about how great the game is. Kevin would end up moving to Ghent to work as a writer on Divinity Original Sin 2, and he was needed. One of the criticisms of the first game was its writing. Understandable, as the team spoke English as a second language. So to help improve that aspect of the sequel, aside from hiring Kevin, they also opened up a new studio in Dublin, Ireland to focus on writing. To combat the relatively high cost of hiring game devs in Belgium, they bought and expanded upon a studio they'd worked with in St. Petersburg. And to combat the crunch they had felt on Original Sin 1, they opened up a studio in Canada so that work on the game could go through the night. They made key hires in areas they needed more knowledge in, and the studio now employs around 400 people in locations such as Ghent, Dublin, Quebec, Kuala Lumpur, Guildford, and Barcelona. So while Baldur's Gate has been worked on for a few years, it's the beneficiary of over a decade of toil and craft, of business expansion and learning, of working in a particular genre and getting to understand their audience. When Larian started development on Baldur's Gate 3, they were already years further down the path than most studios are now. It would be an enormous challenge for a new studio or existing studio without CRPG experience to try and make a game like Baldur's Gate 3 from scratch today.
Okay, next up is the genre, and for Baldur's Gate 3 there are actually two genres we need to talk about.
The first is computer role-playing games, or CRPGs. Think classic games like Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, or in more modern times, Disco Elysium. The second is the more general pop culture genre of tabletop role-playing games. Let's get that one out of the way first. Tabletop role-playing games like D&D have gone through a popular renaissance over the past decade. I remember back when Critical Role were blowing up on Twitch around 2015. Since then, it seems like most content creators have given D&D a go. So while D&D is not quite Star Wars levels of popularity these days, it's much more popular than ever. Or at the very least, many of these social barriers that held it back so long have loosened. The popularity of CRPGs, on the other hand, is a lot more difficult to quantify. The original two Baldur's Gates are celebrated as some of the best CRPGs of all time,
by
alongside
you,
their cousins Icewind Dale and Planescape Torment. But it's also fair to say
back in 1991. By you, back in 1991. I'm just saying, I'd rather play Dungeon Siege 3 than this piece of shit. I'm sorry.
It drifted somewhat from
and I'm probably older than this guy, frankly. I'm probably older than this guy. By you. You might think that. I'm definitely older than this guy, and I definitely feel like, yeah, like you guys said that Baldur's Gate 2 was the greatest CRPG ever made, but frankly, I'd way rather play Dungeon Siege 3, or even like, I don't know, Grim Dawn or Victor Vran, than I don't know, Baldur's Gate 2, Diablo 2. Like, says you're looking back there with those rose-tinted glasses and all that stuff. That's cool. But, like, I don't know, man. If my best friend was like, man, we got two games we could play right now, Dungeon Siege 3 or Baldur's Gate 2, I'd be like, Dungeon Siege 3. You know? Or, like, shit, Sacred 2 was even better than fucking Baldur's Gate 2. I'm terribly sorry, and those are good games. Love them. Great games. You know, KOTOR's good. They're all good. You know, BioWare or fucking Obsidian, etc. They're all good. They're good games. You know, they're good PoE, and I beat them all, whatever. But, you know, definitely, I don't know, says you. They got a high rating for 1991 or whatever, or 94, or whenever the fuck Baldur's Gate 2 came out. But, like, you know, I don't know. Says you. You guys see the past, like you see through those rose-tinted glasses, man. Like member berries. Like the taste of, like as if some game like Dungeon Siege 3 hadn't come leaps and bounds past, like it was 3D, it had a spinnable camera. But that's like comparing Baldur's Gate 2 to Divinity Original Sin 2. I'm going to take Divinity Original Sin 2 over Baldur's Gate 2. So yeah, it was the greatest game of all time in 19 whatever it was, you know.
2019, it made a lot of people, myself included, stand up and take
Says
notice
you.
of this genre again. It's another fantastically well-designed game that won countless awards, sold bucket
I have a
loads,
turn-on.
and inspired a generation of developers.
It's good to see a
with the
horde
style
druid.
of
I haven't
game
seen one in
design
a while.
swing. But it's not like these games didn't exist
Fucking
before.
freaky, fucking weird animal spikes and shit, and fucking like cow spikes and lion. Some kind of twisted, fucked up hentai, fucking Simba, the Lion King mix, you know? That's what I've always thought about that. Oh, there goes Tyrannosaurus Simba. Sorry.
Quickly. Trust no one.
Tyrannosaurus Simba, bitch. Anyways, I can make myself laugh once in a while. Oh my god, why? Okay. Oh, being on Horde is such a trip for me. Anyways, what are we doing now? Going all the way up there, right? Yep, finally can get back to the business. We're gonna go to Wings of Fury here. If I can ever get my AFK ass up there. Oh my god. Why did you put this here, Square? It's so annoying. Get me around it. Yeah, I turned the settings down. I got the frame rate that I was looking for, 57, because, man, I was dropping down to like 32 a lot because of all three games running at the same time. FFXI is a CPU-bound game, or at least that's what I've always been led to understand by the FFXI nerds. So, I don't think it's that the RAM isn't there or the GPU. I think it's actually the CPU is used up by these other two complicated games like WoW and EVE Online. And then, so I lose the CPU for some reason on FFXI until I turn the graphics down or remove the other clients. But it appears that we can run these in medium, all three in medium settings, which I'm doing. Actually, WoW's in high settings, like ultra settings. FFXI is in medium settings at 1920 by 1080, and EVE is in medium settings at 1920 by 1080. They're all 1920 by 1080. So, like, yeah, like I would say, like, medium. Yeah, medium. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Did I miss a phone call here somehow? Damn it. Now, what happened here? I didn't see anything. How did I miss a phone call? Oh, it's spam, because you blocked it, is why. They left a message? Yeah, that's I don't know. Let's let that one go for now. I tried to tell you. Oh, I got a text? Oh, phone call, or was that the game? Oh, that was a phone. Oh, you did try to tell me, and I missed your text. Sorry, I missed your text. Sorry. I guess I didn't thought I hear anything. I guess I got to turn it louder. Fuck. Settings. Notifications. I missed your chat. Thank you for trying to help me, number 2. I ignore you all the time, and I'm sorry. I don't mean anything by it. It's the failure of the software. See, look. See it? It reset the volume while the fucking program was, like open and unused. Now I can understand if people were talking. Sorry about that. Thank you for trying to help me. You are a wonderful person. Thank you, thank you. So going to our WOF now. How did I end up east again? Oh, I went around the west. I went around the eastern end. Stupid blocky stuff. Okay. Save. Leave. Go to 1. I don't know. I don't think I like performance. I want balanced. Yeah, like performance gets that pixelated look that I don't like. But this looks acceptable. Yeah, that looks great. Sci-fi, man. It's so fucking astrally awesome. It's just like cosmonautically sweet. Flying through space and playing Spaceman is a good time, man. Getting stoned and playing Spaceman is a good time.
Disco, games like Pillars of Eternity and Pathfinder were keeping the fire lit for years. albeit to a seemingly smaller audience.
It seems like a second wave of modern CRPGs is about to break, but truth be told, this genre is a little bit out of my wheelhouse.
So to get a better example of the state of the market, the expectations of fans, and the success of Baldur's Gate 3, I jumped on a call with a streamer who's been doing long play streams of CRPGs for years, even when the audience wasn't really there. And I guess it also helps that he was actually in Baldur's Gate 3.
Roar! Are you scared? Did you wet your pants? Did you? Did you?
One of the tropes with CRPGs is that they're super narrative heavy. They're really, really deep. You have to be into reading. And let's be blunt, they were kind of associated with being a nerd. You had to be a big art because they had hugely deep mechanics. You had to generally take a class at a local community college to know how to play them properly and build your characters right. Then you had, millions of words of reading on top of them. The last kind of caveat for that is they're generally long. They're these long, giant experiences. So, people just, the more of those you add up, the less you have in terms of an audience that even wants to / can play the product. The big thing with Baldur's Gate 3 is it's one of the first times we've seen a level of AAA quality resources go into a
On a CRPG. Yeah. No, DOS 2 was the exact same game. Exact same game. No difference, I don't think. DOS 2 was just as good. Or as good. And it had its own beautiful story and all that. And I would say Pillars of Eternity 2 was also, in its own way, a really wonderful fucking game. There's a game I kind of want to play in the background, but I don't know. I don't want to buy Pillars of Eternity 2. I suppose I'll put it on my fucking wish list, though, and look for it on sale. Because, I don't really want to buy Pillars of Eternity 2. I just want to wait for a new one. But I know it's a good game, and I played it a lot before. I know that's a good game. I love that game. It's got good music and good story and stuff. Better than I think I liked Pillars of Eternity 2 more than I liked Deadfire. I liked Deadfire more than I liked Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know. I liked Baldur's Gate 3 as a co-op experience, but I think as a single player experience, I liked Pillars of Eternity 2 more than Baldur's Gate 3. I think it was more religious to the lore. I think it was more completionist, and I think it was more solid. I like Obsidian a lot more than Larian as well. Or is that Obsidian? I think it is. Who did? Let's go see. I have Steam open here. Let's go see who made Pillars of Eternity 2, because I don't remember. It's I believe Obsidian, but don't quote me. Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. Oh. Okay, $40. See, yeah, that's a bit much for me. Excuse me. We wish to add this to my wish list. The $60 Obsidian thing. I wish to add this to my wish list, but I want you to make it cheaper.